Hey, everybody, and welcome to Autism Awakening, the podcast that helps you help your child with autism. I'm Dr. Jared Skowron and excited for today's podcast, which is part of our 2024 mini series. And what we're doing for the the first 3 months of 2024 is creating this podcast mini series, walking you through how autism develops medically and how those different medical components of autism are affecting your child's different autism symptoms. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And of course, our focus here at Autism Awakening are different non-pharmacological, different natural things that you can do that are backed by science to help your child. So before we begin, again, for those of you who are regular watchers, like Rodney, hey, Rodney's always on, you'll see I'm recording from my car again today. I've got a couple meetings that I've got to be out and about, but want to make sure we get this done. So I'm not broadcasting from my usual spot, but the information is still just as good. One quick thing on our agenda before we jump into the podcast. Today is going to be a shorter podcast than usual, because I've got a 1 o'clock meeting, but more exciting for any people who are international, especially the Europeans. I am currently in conversations to be at a live, or actually to create. I am going to be creating a live in-person autism conference in England. Okay. So what we're looking for is anybody who's international, anybody who's in Europe, anybody who's in the UK. We need numbers for how many people would be interested, so we know how big of a venue to get. So if you guys are interested, keep a lookout on your email. We're going to be sending out a survey for those people who would be interested going in person, so we can make sure that we have the space. All right. And we're actually going to be combining forces with Neuro Needs, Spectrum Needs, and Dr. Bowles will probably be there, along with Aspire Nutrition. They are another supplement company that's kind of new on the scene. They're going to be there as well. So we're joining forces, the three of us, to create this conference. All right, let's get into the more important part, is how to help your kids. All right. Let me summarize this 2024 mini series so far, because there is a method to our order and direction of topics. All right. We started out in the beginning of 2024 talking about the causes of autism. Why does my child have autism? All right. Our first podcast was about genetics. We talked about genetics and genetic testing and how we can potentially treat different genetic things with autism. Then we got into autism regression. And when you go to your doctor's office and sometimes all of a sudden your child loses their language and eye contact and other kind of things. All right. I uploaded that on YouTube and it got taken down, and I'm now on a YouTube ban for a few weeks. So it's going to be a little bit before we get our podcasts up on YouTube, but they're on the typical podcast channels. All right. After that, we got into brain chemistry and how brain chemistry can help with speech, because whether your child has autism because of a regression or because of genetics, it's going to affect brain chemistry. And brain chemistry are all those different chemicals that control how the brain functions. And so we're learning that supporting brain chemical production and metabolism naturally can help with speech in many kids. Then we got into mitochondria. Now, mitochondria are really important because sorry guys, just had a little interruption. So we got into mitochondria. We got into mitochondria because mitochondria produce energy for the cells. What do we need energy for? We need energy for brain function and development, and we need energy for muscles. So if your kids are dealing with motor issues, whether it's gross motor or fine motor, also really severe chronic constipation, these can all be signs of mitochondrial dysfunction. All right, acid reflux as well, when our kids are cranky in the morning. So we got into mitochondria, we got into their energy production and kind of motor tone issues. So we've covered brain chemistry and speech. We've covered mitochondria and motor skills. Now we're going to get into behaviors. And behaviors is probably the number 2 goal that my patients have. Okay. So, I work with patients all over the world with a telemedicine practice to help them with autism. You can always book an appointment on our website. And that when I ask patients and families, what do you want? Most of them are more speech and better behaviors. Okay. So we're going to be talking about the different behaviors or we're going to be talking about certain behaviors and how they're associated with gut infections. All right. Our kids with autism are very predisposed to getting infections in the gut. All right. That's the stomach. That's the intestines. That's the colon. All right. And this isn't just your kind of routine stomach bug. It's not like, oh, geez, I ate something bad and now my tummy hurts. These are chronic infections that literally can last from months to years in our kids. All right. We talk a lot about Candida infections in our kids, which is quite common, and that's a fungal infection. We talk about mold in our kids. Mold's just a different type of fungus. All right. It's very similar to Candida and yeast. So we can have a mold infection in our gut. We can also have viral infections and bacterial infections and parasites. And not to gross you out if you're eating lunch or anything, but I got a picture from one of my patients last month, and they had, I would say, like a 6-inch worm in their child's diaper. Okay. And these things are living in our kids' guts, and our kids' guts immune system really can't fight these off well. And that's a problem. And it's a problem because it's going to cause inflammation and it's going to cause pain. And our kids who are so sensory sensitive, that level of pain of a stomach upset for us is going to be tolerable, but for them is going to be extreme. I mean, just think about how many of our kids cannot tolerate us cutting their fingernails or cutting their hair or a tag in a shirt, something that seems very incidental to us because we have typical sensory systems, is inflammatory and over the top and extra loud for our kids because they're very sensory sensitive. So just imagine not just the typical things, nail cuts, haircuts, tags in the shirt, shoes on, whatever, or loud noises. Think about an upset stomach. Think about how your belly hurts when you have to go to the bathroom. Okay. So they are in pain. I just want to hammer that point home. They are in pain. Okay. And if your child is hyperactive and bouncing around the room, if your child is screaming and scratching you and you're bleeding and ripping your hair out and punching teachers, they're not angry, mean kids. They're in pain and they don't know what to do. So whenever you see your child screaming and pacing the floor and running around and wanting to hurt somebody, they don't know what to do with their pain. All right. So I know it's easy to get frustrated with that because you don't know what to do, but I want to give you something to do now. And that is remove the pain that is from a gut infection. All right. Whenever I see a child who looks angry, hurting you, injuring themselves, they're just trying to stop the pain. And I see our kids just medicated with things like risperidone, and it dumbs them out, but it turns them into pharmacological zombies, but we're not actually helping them. We're helping ourselves. Okay. We're helping ourselves because, you know what, frankly, I don't want to deal with 24 hours of screaming right now. Can you be quiet? I'm going to force you to be quiet without helping you feel better. Okay. And that is the disgrace on my end, because we should be helping kids when, frankly, these psych meds are helping ourselves. Period. All right. So let's get into this. And Julie just said, ongoing constipation issues what do you suggest for constipation? We'll get there. We'll have a whole podcast, this mini series about constipation. So let's get into these gut infections, everybody. And what I always like to get down to is why. Things just don't happen for no reason. There is always cause and effect. Hey, Erica's on. Hey, Erica. Good to see you. There's always cause and effect. Always. That is life. That is physics. All right. Why are these infections there? Okay. We're all susceptible to getting the same things. We eat the same food. We breathe the same air. We touch the same stuff. So we're all predisposed to these infections, whether it's Candida or mold or parasites or whatever. We're all exposed to them, but most of our immune systems can fight them off, not our kids. Why? Okay. Why does the immune system in the gut not have the force and the strength to knock these infections off? Well, remember, there's an order to my madness, everybody. Okay. The immune system needs energy to function. What provides energy? The mitochondria. That's what we talked about, the mitochondria, last week. Let's start jumping into the science, everybody. Okay. Mitochondria is a central hub of the immune system. All right. The mitochondria are used to improve inflammatory responses and prevent cellular dysfunction. Here we describe in this research study the role of mitochondria on development and function of the immune cells. Okay? Next, powering the immune system, mitochondria. What does it say down here? It says immunodeficiencies. That's what we're dealing with our kids in their gut, a poor gut immune system. Immunodeficiencies arising from mitochondrial elements are increasingly recognized. Observations of immune dysfunction and increased incidence of infection in patients with primary mitochondrial disorders. This supports an important role for mitochondria in the proper role of the immune system. Okay? The immune system needs energy. And this isn't rocket science, but it's putting the pieces together. And unfortunately, our medical system has so much knowledge that they are forced to specialize. Okay, you have your cardiologist, your oncologist, your pulmonologist. You got all these specialists, but nobody's putting it all together. And guess what? It is all together. And so this is where, unless you go to a mitochondrial doc, no immunologist is going to say, hey, you got to work on your mitochondria there. No, they're just going to try to kill the infections. All right. The immune system of the gut is known as IgA. IgA is the term for the immunoglobulins, the antibodies that are present in the gut and our mucosa. Okay. And I say that because salivary IgA levels, Ig stands for immunoglobulin, salivary immunoglobulin levels in autism. Okay. Guess what? We found in this study that salivary IgA content was significantly decreased in patients with autism and had a diagnostic value for autism, which means when you see these things in the media that say, hey, there's a research study for autism. There's a lab test for autism. Yes and no. All right. They're talking about research studies like this. Yes. IgA levels, gut immune system is severely low in our kids on the spectrum compared to neurotypical kids. But you can't just test IgA levels and say, oh, it's low, they must have autism. But if you're autistic, odds are you will have low IgA levels, low gut levels. All right. Here's another one. Low serum IgA in children with regressive autism. Okay. The highest risk of autism diagnosis was associated with an IgA less than 1. So they're actually giving some numbers here. But again, my point is for you to understand the immune system in the gut is lower because of mitochondrial problems, which come from the toxins and the viruses and the genetics that are creating the autism in general. So we're seeing this. I'm trying to give you this downstream domino of, map for our kids. All right. Here's another one. Let's get into specific infections. All right. Mitochondrial dysfunction confers fungal drug resistance. So if you have mitochondrial dysfunction or a loss of mitochondrial dysfunction is advantageous for Candida because it makes them immune to antifungals and makes them immune to host immune defenses. Okay. And again, what this is saying is if your mitochondria aren't working well, and we know they often aren't, then Candida is going to be able to take hold in our kids. Okay. Alyssa just had a good question I want to answer now. Is high IgG common? Now, IgG are the antibodies within your bloodstream. Not what I've seen. When I've seen tests for IgG, not normally. The immunologists weren't worried. I would say this. Anytime you have a cold, you're going to have high IgG. So if you do that test and you're sick, it makes sense if it's high. If you do that test and you're not sick, it means you're fighting something and you're fighting the stealth infection. Is it a virus that we've been talking about? Is it Lyme disease? Is it a parasite? Is it a chronic smoldering infection you just don't know you have? Okay. I don't see that often in our kids, so I would just redo it. All right, Alyssa. All right, here's another one. This talks about mitochondria and fungal pathogenesis. Yes, that's right. Mitochondria have been identified as important contributors to the virulence and drug tolerance of human fungal pathogens like Candida and mold. Okay. Mitochondrial dysfunction on fungal drug tolerance and virulence could be explained and the potential for targeting mitochondrial factors for future antifungal drug development. This just said new drugs to treat Candida is going to be mitochondrial drugs. All right. We can do that now naturally. All right. Now, why? Again, we kind of hammered home the point mitochondria predisposes you to having these intestinal infections. What are the symptoms? And I talked about the symptoms of pain causing this aggression in our kids or hyperactivity in our kids. This is called the effects of mycotoxins or the effect of mold on neuropsychiatric symptoms. All right. People exposed to molds and mycotoxins, those are just the toxins from molds, have symptoms that affect multiple organs, including the central and peripheral nervous system. Evidence has recently implicated exposure to mycotoxins in the pathogenesis of autism, mediated via different pathways, especially mast cells. Okay, and mast cells are what secrete histamine. So a lot of you guys I know are involved with histamine intolerance and mast cell disorders. But again, that can easily come from mold. All right, here's another one. Relationship between a specific infection, toxoplasmosis, and autism. This talks about toxoplasmosis. which is Toxoplasma is a parasite. I said mold, my apologies. This is a parasite that plays an important role as a risk factor for autism, okay? And again, like I said before, this kid had a 6-inch worm come out of her. You want to know the improvements of the behavior and the mood? When you take a worm infection out of you, they are going to feel so much better, okay? I truly believe, like, the human neutral status should be one of contentment, all right? And if you're in no pain, that's where our kids need to be. All right, let's talk about how we can get rid of these things, all right? We're getting into the different scientific research on treatments. How do we get rid? So far, what have we talked about? Mitochondrial dysfunction caused by viral infections, toxins, genetics, decreases the immune system. The immune system's susceptible to be decreased in the gut, and you're going to get gut infections, all right? Because we're all exposed to the same infections, but people with healthy immune systems can fight those, all right? So we're looking at yeast infections, mold infections, parasite infections, etc. Now, how do we get rid of them? These are very, very, very tricky things to get rid of. Very tricky, even pharmacologically. They are, because these organisms have developed to defend themselves. And the defense of themselves is this wall of slime, okay? So think of like a moat around a castle. Think about these big turret walls, that forts have. The organism wants to defend itself, so it's going to create a border. All right, this border, which is slime, it looks like slime, is called a biofilm, okay? Biofilm is the word that you want. Now, we have to get rid of the biofilm before we can kill the organism. And that's why a lot of you may have gone through months and months of nystatin or diflucan or antifungals, and it's still there. It's still there because it defended itself. It's alive. And so, Kay just said something amazing. One of my patients, Kay, said her daughter Natalie is totally a different little girl. Thanks for your amazing help. You're welcome, Kay. This is what we want. These are the stories we need to share. And off topic tangent, I was talking to patients of mine, families of mine. I've seen their kids for over a decade. And, they were nonverbal, little 4 or 5 year olds when I first met them. And now they're 16. They're practically recovered. They're mainstream school. One of them's got a girlfriend. They both run cross country, and they just broke like some school records in cross country for the state of Connecticut where I am. And man, your kids can do this. It takes time, but we can do this. Okay. All right. Moving on. We have to get rid of the biofilms. Okay. The biofilms, I like using specific enzymes. All right. What do enzymes do? Like digestive enzymes. Digestive enzymes break down your food. If you ever want to see this, some of you take digestive enzymes to help with digestion. Take a digestive enzyme, open up the capsule, and sprinkle the powder on your food. Watch your food start to dissolve. All right. It's not like immediately, but it's a little time lapse here, but it's going to dissolve. That's what enzymes do. And we need to dissolve the biofilm. So I like to use enzymes. Paula just said she loves hearing these stories. We all do. Man, we all love these stories. That's why I encourage you guys, if you've got a good story of hope, we need to share it. Okay. Whether you share it on your own or whether you want us to share it through our avenues and venues, we need to get this out to inspire other families that there is hope. There are things you can do besides therapy. Therapy's fine. Therapy's great. It's going to help, but you can do more. And your pediatricians don't know. All right. Here we go. Pathogenic bacterial fungal biofilms, and they talk about this enzyme amylase. Amylase is known to have some anti-biofilm activity. All right. So hold on, I get my supplements over here. When I work with a kid and treat a kid who has Candida or mold or whatever, or any kind of infection, I do 3 things. Number 1, you need to erode the biofilm. Okay. Number 2, you need to kill the infection once that defensive wall is gone. Number 3, you need to escort these guys out of the colon, okay? Or they just may sit there and they may cause more problems. So it's a 3-step process. Biofilm, kill the bugs, flush them out, all right? I like to do all 3 treatments simultaneously. It's not like, step 1, okay, now step 2, now step 3. Because frankly, if those yeast are alive, they're going to be producing biofilm every day. So we need to kill them and the biofilm on a regular basis and escort them out on a daily basis. So I'll show you what I have and what I do with my patients and give you a protocol. The first thing we use is this yeast mold biofilm. Okay, the yeast mold biofilm is a combination of different enzymes, and you can see amylases at the top there. These enzymes are going to help dissolve that biofilm. Period. Okay, now it's exposed. We need to kill it. How do we kill it? I'm a huge fan of grapefruit seed extract, and there are many, many natural things that are antifungal out there. You can use whatever works, period. Okay? Hey, Chrissy. Chrissy says you're always an amazing doctor. Extremely thankful for you. You're welcome, Chrissy. That's why I'm here. Spread the word. All right. I like grapefruit seed extract. There's a lot of natural things. There's a lot of pharmaceuticals that can kill all this stuff. But I'm a big fan of grapefruit seed extract, and it is effective and inhibits Candida biofilms. All right? I think it also kills Candida as well, which is great. Here's another one. They used, this study used essential oils of grapefruit along with tangerine and cinnamon. And if you can see here, look at all the infections this thing kills. All essential oils had antimicrobial effects against molds like penicillin and fusarium and aspergillus. Okay, it's right there. This stuff works. Along with E. coli, salmonella, staph, pseudomonas, and candida. Okay? These essential oils like grapefruit will kill them. Now, grapefruit seed extract works, but it's got a flavor. All right, and we've got, hold on, I'll find it here. We've got grapefruit seed extract, these little capsules here. These are great, super strong. I love it. I take it myself. But if your kid can't swallow pills, you have to open it, it's going to taste sour. It tastes like grapefruit, okay? And it is what it is. You're not going to hide that flavor. So if your child, and that's easy to mix in like orange juice or things that have a sour profile, like strawberry yogurt or berries kind of thing, which are like sweet and sour. But if your child's really sensitive to taste, and we understand that because this is who we work with, I'm a huge fan for colloidal silver. So let me get into the colloidal silver research in a second. Here's another research study that talks about novel therapies for biofilm-based Candida infections. And they say Candida is among the most common yeasts to cause problems associated with high rates of antifungal resistance and an increased ability to form biofilms, which make the treatment of these infections difficult. So just there in the beginning of the study, it offers up how difficult it is to treat these infections because of this defensive biofilm. All right. There are natural approaches, which this research study talks about, including probiotics, essential oils, plant extracts, and honey. So we just talked about the essential oils, like the grapefruit seed extract. We'll get into the probiotics in a little bit. All right. Colloidal silver, I love it. And colloidal silver I love because it's going to kill these bugs. There's research behind it, and it's tasteless, okay? It tastes like a metallic-y water. I mean, you can put this in the kids' water. They're not even going to notice, which I love. Here's some research behind it, all right? Antimicrobial efficacy of silver nanoparticles against Candida, all right? We know it works for that. Here's another one that talks about antibiofilm activities of silver nanoparticles against Candida. There's a different story. That's the research I have. There is more. I just printed out 2 research studies. So let me say something about colloidal silver. When you look at supplements on the market, some are made cheap, some are made well. Okay. I make these for my patients, so I make them as high quality as possible, gluten-free, dairy-free, for everything. And I want everything to work. And that's why I make it as high quality. Some supplements out there in the market are pretty similar in quality no matter what brand you get, whether you get the cheap stuff or the expensive stuff. Vitamin D is vitamin D. Okay. Vitamin C is usually vitamin C. It's usually ascorbic acid. So when you're dealing with those things, you're pretty unilateral across different brands. But colloidal silver, you need to be careful. Okay. Because you can have cheap stuff that will turn you blue. And then you can have really great stuff, which will knock these infections out. So we carry the great stuff because I want it to work for our kids. All right. So we have our colloidal silver bullet. This is our liquid colloidal silver. My daughter just came home with some sniffles, things, it's February, things are going around. Start pumping this full of her, right? And man, it stopped for her, those sniffles at that sniffle level. She didn't go down into a fever, didn't get worse symptoms. She's like, this is annoying, but we're good. All right. Love this stuff. And I know a lot of you have tried it and it's been successful. Okay. Let's get into probiotics. Okay. We'll have another podcast just on probiotics, but I want to talk about a specific probiotic. There's a specific probiotic called Saccharomyces boulardii, okay? This is a reduction in obsessive compulsive disorder and self-injurious behaviors with Saccharomyces boulardii in a child with autism. So this is a case report, but I wanted to explain it, and here's one more, and it's our final research study. This talks about probiotic yeast Saccharomyces boulardii modulates Candida, all right? There's different probiotics. Not all probiotics are the same. So our typical probiotic, and what you're going to typically get on the market, is something similar to our gut reset. Okay, so gut reset is our standard probiotic. It's great. It's high quality. It's 30 billion CFUs per capsule. It's got different strains of lactobacillus, acidophilus, bifidobacter, and no strep strains. So there are non-infectious forms of strep, which are in some probiotics. We don't put those in. So gut reset, that's our standard probiotic. It's a great one. Okay. This is a special probiotic, Saccharomyces boulardii, and this is pretty common on the market. But Saccharomyces boulardii is not a probiotic or a healthy bacteria. It's actually a healthy yeast. Okay, so this is a probiotic yeast and will help knock out those bad yeast. Teresa just put up a comment which I want to answer because it talks about our final topic for the day, which is binders. Okay. Teresa said probiotics make my son very hyper and moody. Let me say that again. Probiotics make my son very hyper and moody. Yes, Teresa, they did. Many of you probably have seen this before. You're like, hey, probiotics, they're good for my kid's gut. Let me give them, okay? But now my kid got worse on them. That doesn't make sense. I can't use probiotics again. No. Whenever you give a gut treatment, like a probiotic or a prebiotic, I hear this time and time again from my patients about inulin. If you're giving prebiotics or probiotics and getting worse symptoms, it means the gut infection is there. And it means the gut infection is dying. And the probiotics and prebiotics are working. But guess what? When we kill those bugs, it hurts. Okay? And our kids, very sensory sensitive, are going to get moody and hyper with that pain. All right? So it's a good thing. The silver lining is that is a clinical sign that there is a gut infection. What I want you to do, Teresa, is go full on in. How are we going to do that? We're going to use the biofilm enzymes. We're going to use something to kill it, like grapefruit seed extract or colloidal silver or both. And frankly, if you're on a pharmaceutical like nystatin or diflucan or ketoconazole, use that as well. You can use all these together, but you need to use the biofilm enzyme. You need something or multiple things to kill it. And then we need to escort these guys out so they don't cause as much pain. Okay? You don't have to escort them out, but you're going to get these symptoms of anger and hyperactivity and moodiness because it hurts. So a binder is an amazing thing to escort these things out. There's 3 I would recommend. Number 1, our old binder is made of chlorella. So we have a yeast mold binder made of chlorella. It has a flavor though. It kind of tastes like it's like a green powder, you know, so it's got a flavor. It's not bad. It's just kind of grassy. I would go with grassy. We have another binder. I didn't bring it today. But we have a sweet tasting gut binder that's brand new. And it's a great combination of different binders, you know, different clays and such. It's called Gut Binder Sweet Tasting. So you can use that. You can also use just activated charcoal. That works as well. And what I would say, and I say this a lot to my patients, you cannot use enough binders. If you're going with these kind of treatments and your kid's having mood issues, more binders, multiple times a day. Flush this thing out. Flush it out. All right. What I normally recommend, and we sell these as a bundle. So you're going to get a biofilm enzyme, the sweet tasting gut binder, and then either the colloidal silver or the grapefruit extract. So we sell the 3 together and take 1 dose of each. Okay. All together in the morning, all together in the evening. So they can work together to bust the biofilm, kill the bug, and escort the guys out. All right. Make it easy on yourself. Make it easy on yourself. But I promise you, if your child has self-injurious behaviors, if they are hyper and bouncing off the walls, one of the other keynote symptoms we didn't mention is unexplained laughter. If your child just starts laughing for no reason, they probably have yeast. All right. My theory on why this happens, I used to brew beer in the past. And what you do, you know, when you're brewing beer, you take your barley and your malt and your hops and you make a tea, and then you add yeast. Yeast will convert the sugar into alcohol. All right. So some of our kids, I have a breathalyzer in my office, guys. Some of our kids, if they have the correct yeast, will convert sugar into alcohol. And I breathalyze our kids for this. So it's crazy stuff, but it's real. So you got to knock these things out with those 3 things. Okay. So I highly encourage you to do it. If you have any of those symptoms of hyperactive or angry or self-injuring behaviors or injuring the teacher, they are in pain. I can't emphasize that enough. okay? And that pain is usually from an infection. Unless, and here's a side comment, your child might be teething, all right? So again, don't forget the 6-year molars either. Your child might be teething, and that pain could kind of exacerbate things. So be that as it may. Let me get to the live questions. Before I do, coupon of the weekend, can't forget that, Candida 20. That's our coupon for the weekend. Going to get you 20% off any of your supplements, any of our lab tests. Hey, if you really want to know if they got a gut infection, get a stool test. Stool test will show the yeast, the mold, the parasites. Get that stool infection. Stool test. We have it on our website if you want. You can still use the treatments without the stool test. Trust me. Especially with parasites, they're so hard to diagnose on testing. And so many people have parasites and worms and the tests say they don't. It's just a really hard thing to test. And frankly, if you show these tests to your pediatricians, most of them are going to say, yeah, we all have these things. We all have yeast, yada, yada, which to a certain extent, yes, but our kids are susceptible. Yeah, most of us eat peanuts too, but not everybody's going to have an anaphylactic reaction. We're all different. Don't treat us all the same. Okay. Here we go. Candida 20, 20% off any of your supplements, any of your lab tests, even bundles, everybody. 20% works on bundles. That expires February 11th, 2024. And of course, if you want to set up an appointment with me, we're booking out in March, and we have telemedicine visits, and you can go on our website and click the appointment tab. All right. I got about 10 minutes for live questions, so I'm going to get through them as fast as I can. Live shout out to Rodney and Kay, who is Natalie's grandma in Kentucky. Hope you guys are doing well. Dobre from London. Jeannie, welcome back from the Autism Health Summit. The Autism Health Summit was awesome. Your reaction when Scout's audio finally worked. Oh my God, it was so loud. So I was lecturing at an autism conference in Texas last week in the Autism Health Summit. And I don't know, Jeannie, if you were watching digitally, but they turned that thing on and it was so loud. I'm like, did you not prep this stuff, people? Anyway. Lorena from England. I haven't been to England since 1991. No, I lied. 1995. It's been almost 30 years. I can't wait to go back. Sherwin is sharing. Thanks, guys. I need you guys to share this info with other families so they know there's answers. Brianna, what would cause a child's poop to have unprocessed food in it, such as pieces of oranges and the skins of grapes? Well, the skins of grapes are common. Blueberries are common. Corn's common. But it's poor digestion. Period. It's just poor digestion. And a lot of our kids have it because they're in sympathetic overload. So just add a digestive enzyme every meal. We have a few. We have a super digestive enzyme, which is a great comprehensive pill. We have a chewable enzyme that tastes like papaya, which is great. And then we have a digestive enzyme that specifically digests gluten. So if you're cheating on your gluten, take a gluten enzyme. Okay. All right. Katie Schubert is here. I met an Amy Schubert in Texas. Zulika. Hey, Zulika. My son's 8 with autism and Down syndrome. He takes thyroid medication. Good. If your child has Down syndrome, 99% of them need to be on thyroid meds, please. He takes Power Focus, Common Cool, Immune Mushroom, and Panda. Can I add Mitomax, mitochondrial support? Please do. Please do, Zulika. Tracy, what about amoeba? I'm going to throw in any pathogen our kids are predisposed to in the gut, whatever it may be. Okay. Too many to mention. Julie says, chronic constipation issues, what do you suggest? First off, I hate Miralax. We had a podcast about that last year. Please watch it. Miralax in their research studies had 6% psychiatric side effects. Why am I giving something that where pretty good odds my kid's going to have a psychiatric side effect when there are safer things to use, like magnesium? All right. Magnesium's been used for 100 years for constipation. We have a magnesium powder that's combined with electrolytes that works better. It's called Brown Log Train. So, Julie, if you haven't tried our Brown Log Train, try that. If that doesn't work, you need mitochondrial support like our Mitomax. Also, castor oil. I never talked about castor oil, but you rub castor oil topically on their belly. We used to do it. We used to have bottled castor oil on my daughter's diaper changing table when she was young. And if she skipped a day of pooping, rub the castor oil on her belly. Boom, got to poop in 6 hours. Hello to Erica. Hello to Annette. Live shout out. And Alyssa, the immunology test range is so wide they don't even consider infections. Worrisome. It's true. And don't give me tangent soapbox time. I wonder if you guys just watch for the soapbox stuff. Reference ranges on lab tests are not designed based on health. They are designed based on a 98% confidence interval, 2 standard deviation, bell curve for you math nerds out there like me, that of who comes in to get the labs done. Who comes in to get the labs done? Sick people, okay? If you are out of range, low or high, you are in the 1st percentile, of the extremes. So when I see doctors say, geez, that lab's barely low, you're 1%. You're the 1% of the bad, whether it's low or high. Okay. The range is too big. I look at reference ranges like a dartboard. I want a bullseye. I want to be in the middle or, 25% on either side. I want to be that 50% chunk of the bell curve, everybody. Soapbox done. Jenna, lack of impulse control in a child. Started temper tamer, and so far it increases behaviors. Okay. Stop. What I want you to do, Jenna, is try Temper Tamer 2 instead. And this is a good time to mention Spectrum Awakening has a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if, something like Temper Tamer isn't having the effect you want, or your child doesn't like the taste, send it back for a refund, okay? Rather, you get the refund and try something new. Try the Temper Tamer 2, Jenna. If that doesn't work, you got to go with gut infections. Alyssa, is high IgG common? Yep, we talked about that. Belijo. My son has autism, but he gets sick a lot. Is that normal for a child with autism? Immune dysregulation is common in our kids with autism. And it can be super low, like is with your kid, or it can be super high and we get into autoimmune problems. So I would assume your child definitely has some mitochondrial problems because you're getting sick all the time. That being said, if your kid is 4 or 5 and in daycare or kindergarten, man, those places are germ factories. So yeah, your kid's going to get sick probably every 1 or 2 months when you start daycare and, younger school years. That's being a kid and being a parent. But if we're talking about summertime and they're not in school or daycare, now I'm concerned. Zulika, can you take mitochondrial support if you don't have mitochondrial dysfunction? Yes, I do. I want some extra energy. Michelle, what do red dots on the top of the tongue mean? It means inflammation. I'm going to, let me say this. Our GI tract isn't just our stomach, isn't just our intestines and our colon. It's our esophagus and it's our mouth. It's one big tube, everybody. So if you see something here, I bet it's down there. Okay? So red dots are going to be inflammation. What from? I don't know. Probably infection, but could be anything. Could also be food allergy. It could be inflammation from a food allergy, something you put in your mouth, or from an infection. So it's a pretty nondescript symptom, but there's definitely something going on in the GI tract, Michelle. Tochi, my son's always crying. He cries all day long at school. At night, he eventually falls asleep, always wanting to be cuddled. Tochi, I'm sad already. Always wanting to be carried or cuddled. I don't know what's wrong with him. He's in pain. That's it. I want you guys to do this. Go to YouTube and Google Oprah and, what's her name? Can't remember her name offhand, but Google Oprah and baby cries. And it's this episode on Oprah from years and years and years ago about this lady and, Dunstan. Dunstan's her name, Dunstan. I believe she's Australian. And she did this research about the cries that baby makes. And babies make the same 4 cries all over the world. It's not a language thing. One means hungry, one means in pain, one means tired, and one means something I forgot. But man, is it on point. It is on point. So watch that and listen to your babies cry. Okay? That'll help you understand if they're in pain. They usually are. I feel there's issues in his guts. He poops daily, but still this way. He's so miserable. What kind of test do I run? If you want to run a test, you can do a stool test or just start with the enzyme, the colloidal silver, and the binder. Okay? Start there. I mean, nobody wants to see kids cry. Amber says, can you share these articles too? We definitely are going to be able to get those up. Of course, these are easily Googleable. You can pick up any of these research studies like this one, and you can just type in that title and it'll pop up. So, but we're going to collaborate all these studies that we're putting together for this, for this mini series. I lost my place in the comments. I am going to go find it. Oh boy. Sorry guys. Gonna try to find where I was in the comments. I know I missed something. I need some elevator music. Happy Fat Thursday, by the way, for those of you with Polish ancestry like myself. Get some paskis and enjoy. All right, Alyssa, the only thing I found help with my daughter's histamine MCAS is thiamine. She still struggles with flares. Yeah, thiamine, or the preferred form, which is benfotiamine, is good stuff. It's good. That's in our Mitomax formula. Rabia, my son's 11 but looks 7 to 8. How can we work on increasing his height? Digestive enzymes. Digestive enzymes. He may have a genetic condition, which you may want to test for. We have that on our website. Digestive enzymes has helped every case of failure to thrive in my practice. Digestive enzymes with every meal. When I started my son on ViraClear due to COVID-induced PANS. How long should he stay on ViraClear? 3 months. Anti-inflammatory foods, as long as you want. Motrin, on and off. I mean, you use ibuprofen for too long, you're going to get ulcers. His tics have subsided. Let me say that. His motor tics have subsided from antivirals using Spectrum Awakening's ViraClear. He's aggressive and angry and dysregulated. Binders win. I would just go with binders. Thank you in advance. When you are killing something and you get aggressive and angry and dysregulated, binders. Tracy, which binder is good for toxoplasmosis, amoeba, histoplasmosis, and pneumocystis? Allergic to nuts. Again, I'm a big fan of chlorella. I'm a big fan of charcoal. Take a look at our sweet tasting gut binder. I don't know if there's a nut allergy associated with it. I just don't know offhand. Kay said Natalie's a different girl. I love that. Michelle, could allergy to nuts be a mold thing? Yeah. Nuts are super high in mold. The way they manufacture them, you watch those documentaries, it's gross. All right, guys, I got time for one more question. Sorry, it's a shorter podcast. Sherry says, we're going to do the oat test. Does this look for mold and Candida? Yes, but not for parasites. I can do one more. Santa says, would a CST help with providing information on gut health and infections? I don't know what a CST is. Too many acronyms. Chrissy says, amazing. Yo, you're welcome, Chrissy. As much as we can do to help you guys. Tracy said, can yeast mold biofilm be used for parasites? Yes, I would. All right. Last but not least, Olivia, we're currently in a mold house leaving in 2 months. Is it pointless to try to do any of this till we're out of mold? No. Kill it. Do it now. Don't wait. Get rid of it. Yeah, you're still breathing it in. Hopefully you have air purifiers or stuff, but no, get rid of it as fast as possible. All right, everybody. Hey, shorter podcast, but thank you for hanging on. This is really important in our mini series because Candida affects so many of our kids, as does mold, as does gut infections. Why do our kids get them? They have poor gut immune systems. Why? They have mitochondrial dysfunction. There's not enough energy for the immune system. Why? Because the mitochondria are susceptible to problems from viruses, toxins, and genetics. So we're building this arc for you guys. We're going to get through it by the end of March, I hope. But don't forget our coupon of the weekend. Get yourself a biofilm enzyme. Get something to kill it, like our grapefruit extract or our colloidal silver. And binders to stop with those symptoms. And trust me, a lot of these behaviors are because they're in pain. Okay? And yeah, it gets frustrating to deal with those behaviors on a day-to-day, second-to-second basis. But I implore you to have patience and empathy with the kids and kill these bugs. They're in pain and you're going to help them. You're going to make your kid feel so much better. Think of it that way. You're going to make your kid feel so much better when you get rid of their pain. Hey, that's not our coupon. Where's the coupon? Candida 20, everybody. Good luck. I wish you all the best. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you next week. Thanks, everybody.